All right, greetings everyone. We're now officially started, so thank you very much for your patience, and I'm grateful to see so many people here tonight. We're recording this meeting, so just so you know, the cloud is listening right now. But tonight we wanted to talk about the several items we have in front of us tonight. First off is our general membership meeting. We have an annual membership meeting for the Manham Township Historical Society. And the first thing we're going to do is to talk about some of the things that now I can't, there we go. So basically, what have we been up to lately in terms of Manham Township Historical Society? Yeah, why don't you just let them in as they show up? What's that?
I know.
Well, there's some mouse problems here that we have. Anyway, so we have our annual membership meeting that we're going to be doing to give a basic status update, and then we'll turn it over for recommendations from all of you. Like I said, later, after the membership meeting is over, going to have that 20-minute presentation about the historic significance of the Village of Oregon. And then followed that is the fastest board of directors meeting ever for the Manham Township Historical Society. After that, I invite you to join for a brief photograph opportunity out in front, expressing your desire to protect the Village of Oregon. So in terms of getting to the next slide, and it keeps blocking me out, Clara, every time.
I'll just
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Thank you.
You're good.
All right. So what has the Manham Township Historical Society been up to lately? Within the last several years, we've accomplished a great deal. We've been able to not only protect and preserve the Stoner House that's in Overlook Park, but also maintaining it, doing the repairs that are needed. We've made HVAC system upgrades, security system upgrades, constant painting, improvements to the basement to make sure that that doesn't collapse all in on us, stormwater management for the patio. We've done some gas upgrades and thermostatic upgrades, as well as making it available. So the board of directors has been volunteering their time to make the Stoner House an available structure for people to come and visit, to tour, and to see the museum of artifacts that we've gathered over time. Debbie Franz has been in charge of the programs here for the Historical Society. Debbie, can you wave your hand or stand up? That's great. Debbie is the vice president of the Historical Society, and we have a wonderful series of in-person and online programs that we've been developing. Just recently, we had the two-part program from Art Rice having to do with Conestoga wagons.
Challenges and seeking approval ratings. Kelly O'Donnell is up.
And we have a few more coming up, one that has to do with native plants and certifying your backyard as a wildlife habitat. Then this summer, we'll be having Lloyd Hopkins come in and talk about the Underground Railroad. So it's a series of wonderful programs that have been going on. Obviously, though, we also have fundraising we need to continue to do in order to support the preservation of the Stoner House and to do these other activities. We're at a pivotal time in the history of the Historical Society because we're in a position of transitioning leadership and bringing in new blood, bringing in new programs and new ideas, and then also reaping the benefits of what's been planned in the past by the Historical Society. We're reaching out to the township to amend the zoning ordinance to improve the zoning ordinance regulations pertaining to historic preservation of structures. We're also collaborating with many different organizations throughout the county as we all lead up to the 2029 tricentennial of our county. That's in just 7 years, our tricentennial of our county. Don't hear much talk about it, but bet you dollars to donuts, you'll be hearing more and more as the years go by. So we're really enjoying working with Landis Valley Farm Museum, with Mennonite Life, with the Manheim Township School District, with Manheim Township government itself in promoting education and research, reaching out to the public so that we can continue our fundraising and further the mission that we have in front of us. Like I said, research and education is something that's very near and dear to my heart, is to understand what the history of the township has been. Where are the important places? What are the important things that we need to learn about our heritage, and to be able to then share with others, either in online format, written format, or in person, or doing activities with children, students, with adults, so that people can learn about our heritage, learn about the legacy, and absorb it so that they have a better understanding of why things are the way that they are and how things can change in the future for the better of our entire community. So I'm very excited about that. Another thing that we try to do is advocacy for historic preservation. Like we're talking about today, the Village of Oregon. We've also advocated for the preservation of the Stoner Farm on Eden Road. As you can see, just a few of those buildings were able to be saved. Unfortunately, many of the other farm buildings were gone, and the farmland itself has been turned into a development. So there are things that we need to continue to fight for. And so those are some of the activities that we have in mind. Like I said, we've got a leadership transition right now. I'm a little more than a year, I think, maybe two, since April 2 years ago. Yeah, so it's been 2 years, I think, that I've been president, which has been very exciting to be given the opportunity to serve our community this way and to work with some extremely talented, passionate people, hardworking. I would like every member of the board of directors to stand up at this time, please. So Sheldon, Stefan, Mary, Sam, Debbie, Doreen in the back. Could we please give them a round of applause? Thank you all for everything y'all are doing. As boring as it might sound, we did update our bylaws. These are important steps as we retool what we do and how we do it. So this was something that was done recently. We need to continue providing income. We spent several thousands of dollars on our zoning ordinance amendment and paying the fees to submit the petition. And that's not money that just falls out of the sky. It's not money we get from grants. We replace that with donations, with dues. So we are watching every dime. Thank you, Doreen, our treasurer. Watching every dime. It is a positive income. We do not have a massive endowment that's backing us. We're a scrappy group of volunteers, and we make do with what we have. We get done some incredible things. I'm really proud of the Manheim Township Historical Society. We're also adjusting to the realities of today's world and the electronic media. So like I said at the beginning, we've got Facebook, we've got Zoom, and our website. We have a YouTube channel. Who knew that there was such a thing? We have a YouTube channel with all kinds of videos and different things that are going on. The pandemic forced us into that, so we just rolled with it and continued on. So we've been really trying to adjust with what's been going on in the world around us. We're also in the process of creating an online library, if you will. So putting PDFs of historical documents that are related just to Manheim Township or to Manheim Township within the community of Lancaster County, or things that are specific events for Lancaster, for Manheim Township. We're creating that. We're revamping our website, and just got word today that a well-renowned website development firm is willing to do that for us pro bono. So isn't that freaking awesome, Board of Directors members? Greetings, Phil. Phil Hammond in the house. Okay, so how can you help? Now, some of you might want to choose to become members. Some of you have been members before. but we haven't really nudged you for the last couple of years to say, we really need you to pay your dues. So please go to our website. There's a big honkin' donate button there. Please donate. Please get caught up in your dues if at all possible. Or if you're not a member, please join. I'm not going to turn anybody away because you haven't paid your dues, but we do need money to keep doing what we're doing. Also, please make sure we have your email address. So those of you who received the flyer, but you didn't get the email, please let us know what your email address is. There's a contact information place on our website. Just put your email address in there and we'll make sure that it gets uploaded, because that saves us a stamp. And like I said, we're watching every dime. Doreen is watching every dime, and we don't need to buy more stamps than we have to. So please let us know what your email address is. Then also explore our website. There's some really cool things on our website. You can go and you can tour the Stoner House without going there, room by room by room. There's a 3D image that you can explore. You're going to be seeing the online library coming up soon. You're going to see the videos that we've been putting out on our YouTube. And then there's also continual Facebook content where we've been putting out different stories, not just about the Village of Oregon, but different places and different aspects of Manheim Township. It's just a fascinating story to become involved in. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. Also, that gives you an opportunity to send us your thoughts. Send us any questions that you might have. It doesn't all have to be done in one time. We're back and forth. We know that it's a conversation. So I would love to give you information that I've figured out, or hear information from you. Mr. Carville, are you still here? Mr. Carville, you mentioned you had some photographs that you'd be willing to share. I would love to take a look at those. Probably not tonight, but at some point. So there's always the sharing back and forth. Erica, right? Erica saw an image that I put on Facebook of the intersection of Creek Road and Oregon Pike. And she said, that picture was taken right outside my window. So she sent me a picture right outside the window. And yeah, you could see it. It's amazing. So it's great to be involved with the community and to get people to be engaged with our history, to be learning, and to help each other. So it really is a dialogue in many ways. So with that said, that brings us to the conclusion of our membership meeting. And I will open the floor for any recommendations that folks might have. I will repeat them so that folks online can hear them, and that so Sheldon, who is going to furiously take notes, can jot them down as well. Sheldon's our secretary. So are there any recommendations from the membership of the Historical Society? Sweet. Everybody thinks we're doing a great job. Doreen, you better get ready. The bank account is going to be flooded with dues and donations. All right. So that's terrific. Thank you so much. Just needed to open the door for that. All right.
Mr. President
is going to be what I'm going to refer to as the historic significance of the Village of Oregon. And I don't think we have anybody that's still waiting to get in. So I think we're in good shape. What's that? No. Clara Almy, my stepdaughter. Round of applause. All right. So I believe that the Village of Oregon is really a very unique treasure within Manheim Township, potentially within the county. In 1717, Jacob Bear showed up here. Now, Jacob Bear's last name can be spelled one of three different ways, but Jacob Bear showed up here, as many of the early settlers did, and this was a vast area of woodland, meadows. There were no roads here. There were no highways, no developments, very few houses, if at all. There were some Native American settlements that were in this area, but it was majority Penn's Woods, right? Now, who knows what this area was from a county-wise in 1717? I saw Ken mouthing back there, Chester. Did I interpret that correctly? That's right, because the county was formed in 1729. So he showed up here. This was all Chester County. Chester County stretching as far west as you could possibly imagine. They barely even knew where Pennsylvania was. But Jacob Bear showed up, and he built a mill, a log mill, roughly where the Oregon roller mill is today, in 1717. Now, here's one of the things that I think drives home the fact that Oregon is the birthplace of Manheim Township, and that is the first 3 roads that came into Manheim Township, they were all headed here. They weren't going to Neffsville. They weren't going to East Petersburg. They weren't going to Dillerville. They were coming here. Those were the first 3 roads, and they would come here. Why? Not just from happenstance. It's because Jacob Bear's mill was highly productive. It was in a terrific setting. He had good water power to drive the mills, to do what they needed. And it was surrounded by this very fertile soil. So there was all of this good farming, the agrarian setting that was happening. And people, you couldn't process grain with just yourself without a terrible amount of labor. So the mills provided a real much easier way of achieving what we needed to take our product to market. Now, the map on the left is from 1853. It's a much larger map of the entirety of Manheim Township, but it's a fascinating map, and it shows the village of Oregon, and you can see those first 3 roads coming into view. One of them we know as today as the Oregon Pike, but up here at the Speedway, it made the turn. It didn't continue on straight past 222. It made the turn and brought people to Jacob Bear's mill. Another came across from Mascot, where there's the Mascot roller mills. Came across probably a ford back in the day, across the Conestoga River, and came to this spot. The third was the Lancaster to Jacob Bear's Mill Turnpike. We know that today as Butter Road. Butter Road preceded the Oregon Pike. So if you think about going out from, when you leave, and if you cross over and you love that little creek road that goes around the bend, that's the old original Oregon Pike. That's how people came from the city of Lancaster out to Jacob Bear's Mill. Now, also on the left, in the map that's on the left, you just hit it. Also on the map on the left, there's several other structures that are shown. And we'll put this on our website so that it's available for people. But you can see in the upper left-hand corner, does anybody recognize that structure? Anybody want to sing out what it is? Catfish Court. It's right there at the corner of Oregon Road and Creek Road, Catfish Court. It's one of the earliest buildings in the village of Oregon. It was a former distillery for a time. Probably had a few other uses, but the name Catfish apparently was offered up by the British prisoner of war, Major Andre, who loved to come out to this area. And the legend is that he gave it the name Catfish. The name Oregon was suggested in the 1850s by Henry Lehman, who had the rifle mill down by the Conestoga. And there on Creek Road, you can see his old house called Cedar Lawn. So just fascinating stories all along the way. And we gotta get, oh, there it goes. All right. Now, mills. It's extremely important to understand that there were hundreds of mills across the county. Like I said before, the mills did the work that we or our animals couldn't do back in the day. And there were more than a few in this particular area, extending all the way from Lidditz Springs. We all know Lidditz Springs Park. That's Lidditz Run that comes all the way down through here, through the village of Oregon, goes to the confluence under that beautiful stone arch bridge. And there were quite a few, I would say probably 6 or 8 mills at least. And back in those days, it was also called Carter's Creek before it became known as Lidditz Run, but it extended all the way down to the Conestoga. Now here's a couple pictures. There's Henry Lehman's mill for the rifle, some vestiges that were still left in the prior to Agnes. Here you can see the, on the right-hand side upper, you can see the Stone Arch Bridge with the mill, Knolt's Point Mill, that used to be in that location. And then, of course, you can see in the lower, that's the Oregon Roller Mills. Not long after it was built, it was reconstructed in the structure we know today, I believe in 1909. But that was the original location for Jacob Bear's Mill. Also surrounding the area, we've got beautiful farms, some of which you know today, others are kind of hard to see, but they're still there. And then there's also the schoolhouse that was here. And Manor Township erected that elementary school and hired a teacher to instruct the pupils. So it's really quite fascinating to see all these structures. But what's really fascinating, now where's the lady who said she grew up 2 houses up from from Reflections? Yes, ma'am. And your brother too? He's in the back? Okay, there he is. So I believe that your house was the one that's on the far left. And this is from the 1853 map. So you can see Catfish Court, the distillery on the far right. You see the Oregon Hotel, or Reflections as we know it today. You see the intersection of Creek Road and Oregon Road, and then the 2 houses that are beyond that, the schoolhouse being just beyond that second house. What's amazing though, is that it's still intact. Those buildings are still there. Now you see Mary Bollinger's farmhouse bed and breakfast there on the corner. That didn't make the cut because it wasn't built in 1853. But I think we owe a round of applause to Mary and her appeal, the investment that she's made in preserving our community, our township, and this unique treasure. So a round of applause for Mary Bollinger. All right. Now, the next thing that started to happen, bifurcation by a roadway. That's when one thing becomes 2 because it's cut in half. You remember how Oregon stretched all the way from Creek Road all the way down to the Conestoga River? Well, when that highway was built, and this is the picture right outside Erica's 2nd-story window, when that highway got built, that was the Oregon Pike. You can see down to the water beyond it. You can see all the way through here. Some of those buildings on the right-hand side still stand, and they're part of the property that's across the street. But that initial bifurcation, that initial separation of the village of Oregon was a massive, massive change. Who knows what the other one was? The other road. 222, another enormous separation. You got to drive underneath that thing. And it just, took a massive swath out of the village of Oregon on the south side of Oregon Pike. Now, in 1991, PennDOT was doing an archaeological study for the bridge replacement. I think a couple of people might want to try to get in. For the bridge replacement there, just in front of the Oregon Roller Mills. And that 1991 study looked at a variety of the structures in the village of Oregon and found that 7 of them were eligible for listing in the National Register of Historic Places. That sounds pretty boring and technical, but that really is the litmus test for historic structures. Is it eligible or isn't it eligible? Even if it's eligible, it doesn't get you on the list. That's another heavy lift. Now, one of the structures that's not in that 7 is the roller mills itself, because it indeed was made, included on the National Register of Historic Places prior to the 1991 study. But 1991 seems to be a big year for things that were happening with historic preservation and try, just click. Okay, great. So the Historic Preservation Trust, is there anyone here from the trust or members that are here? The trust worked with Manheim Township in 1991 on a comprehensive maybe not quite as exhaustive as it should have been, but a comprehensive look at all of the structures within Manheim Township to try to include them in a survey and then in a historic resources inventory, which is a planning tool that the township official uses. They use to discern if there are any historic preservation regulations that need to be applied when someone's considering a demolition or an alteration or a land development plan. So it gets pretty technical pretty quickly, but it's really phenomenal to see this little cluster around Oregon has all those red dots. All those red dots means that that's a structure that's in the inventory. It's on our historic resources inventory. All right, so this is the Oregon Dairy Project. As you can see, the orientation of the image is a little bit different than what you've been seeing so far. You've got Oregon Pike that's running straight level across the diagram. Along the bottom of the diagram, you see 222, and then you can see where Oregon Dairy currently exists, but some really big changes that are, I understand, it's okay. Thank you for doing that. Some really big changes that they're proposing to the Oregon Dairy Complex itself, as well as the vacant Shawnee Resort on the other side between Oregon Pike and 222. And we're trying to get the window. Yep, go for it. All right, great, thank you. So what I'm really concerned with, though, is the properties that are proposed, the single-family dwellings that are right up against the Village of Oregon. And like I said at the beginning, we're not going to talk about traffic. We're not going to talk about stormwater management. But placing those highly efficient spacing, regular spacing of houses right across the street there, right across the street, there's just going to be house, 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 house. And then the road's going to be improved and widened, which, you know, maybe that'll be done well, maybe not. But the impact on the Village of Oregon would be to change its agrarian setting. Now, I get that there is a balance we have to strike between private property owners' rights to use their land and the responsibilities of the municipality to guide planning and development. But we have regulations already in place to preserve the character of the Village of Oregon. And it's my belief that that row of houses laid out the way they are, even spacing all along that road, are going to make a dramatic change to what Creek Road feels like, let alone the fact that the bifurcation by roadway is going to happen again, because the proposal is to end Creek Road before it gets back to Oregon Pike. It's going to steer all of the Creek Road traffic into the development, past the big roundabout, and then out to Oregon Pike. So one of the things that I'm proposing or hoping to get word on, okay, yeah. So this also shows that the inventory, the mapping of those historic resources, where the project actually is, the two parts of it. But my concern is that this row of houses, they needn't be right up against the road. They needn't be just laid out, you know, one right after another. There's supposed to be, according to the architectural design guidelines, a community gardens. I can't find the community gardens on their site plan anywhere. I wonder if this might be a good spot for a community gardens. Wouldn't it be nice to have a community gardens directly across here to tie in the agrarian setting? So there's lots of different ideas of what we could do differently. So that's my major area of concern, has to do with Creek Road and the properties along Creek Road and the impact that this development is going to be for the Village of Oregon and the historic character of it. So I'm summarizing here a little bit, but you can see, I think that's your house, Erica and family. Nice, beautiful painting of the Oregon roller mills. and Mary's Old Oregon Farmhouse B&B. So many of these structures are still intact. They're still in here. They're still right here. You can go, you can see them. And you can patronize them by, renting a room at Mary's Bed and Breakfast or having a meal at Reflections. But it's this incredible setting we have here, this once in a lifetime opportunity to hold back the impact that we have for us. And I believe very passionately that this is a heritage and a legacy that our forebears are passing on to us, and that we should make a stand to say, no, not that much, to have an impact. So a couple things we're going to ask you to do. The Historic Preservation Trust reached out to me and said, hey, we're doing these postcards that we'd like to spread out to everyone. And we'd like to have those postcards then signed by each resident who sends it in, Manheim Township residents especially. Fill it out, add a little note of your own. It has some pre-written text. If you give Sheldon Esch your address, we will make sure that a postcard, when it's ready, gets sent to you. I've asked for 100 of them. So if we get 100 addresses, it'll be one per household, but we'll be spreading them out as much as we can. The conditional use hearing is a very complicated process, and I'm not sure that we will have an opportunity in a formal setting to be able to voice anything into what's called the record. And that is the judicial process by which the commissioners get testimony. I'm not sure we're going to get a chance to do that, but there are various chances for you to provide your input. I think there's a 3-minute limit that the Board of Commissioners has at the end of every one of their formal meetings, 3-minute limit per person. But if there are 50 people here, that's 150 minutes of talking about the Village of Oregon. That might be worth them taking pause to listen to, because then they're going to hear about it later once things go the way the community doesn't want it to go. So again, stay in touch via email. That's our fastest, quickest, cheapest way to get the word out on things. I think you'll be seeing more and more of that from us. If you can make donations, dues, send recommendations, questions via email, we'd be awfully glad for that. What's our current time? 7:06? Dang, we're pretty close. All right, that worked out well. So we have a little bit of time before the Board of Directors throw a revolt and take charge of the meeting without me. Are there any minor questions that I can answer? Let's not do opinions or positions, but if there are questions about the historic significance of the Village of Oregon, I'd be glad to field them. Yes,
Mr. President,
are there current photos of some of these properties? Yeah, yes, there are quite a few that are available immediately online. Also on our Facebook page, there's a lot of media photos that we've been putting out there. So there's quite a few of them that are available. Another question in the back? Yes, ma'am. Mr. Brown, the author? Oh, okay. No, I don't. Does anyone know? Palmer Brown is the name of the author of children's books who lived in the Village of Oregon. Is that right? I'm repeating that for people online. Any other quick questions?
can you hear
Yes,
me?
Sam.
Can anybody hear me? Hello? Can anybody hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Right. Well, we'll try and get, with Randy's permission, we'll put that PowerPoint up online. Is that okay with you, Randy? Okay, great. Thank you. All right, Vin, I've heard you there. This is Vin.
Good. Hi.
You have a question for us, Vin?
Yeah, I have a question. In order to not jeopardize what the Bollingers are facing between now and the end of this coming month, when the decision is made, we ought to make sure that we do not trip on what their lawyer has advised them in the way of support. It's important that we don't torpedo
Okay.
the
Jen,
things that
This is
they're
not
after.
what I'm asking for tonight. I'm not asking for strategy on how to address. I'm asking for questions about the historic significance of the Village of Oregon.
I understand that, but I also understand that you're going to stand out in front of the church with your arms folded in a state of defiance. Be
That's
careful.
correct. We will adopt a state of defiance. Yes.
Well, Mary and her husband need to figure into that decision that you're going to do tonight. I ask you to consider that.
Well, I'm sure Mary will let me know if she feels like that's a bad idea, if any of the things that I cook. I stay in very close contact with Mary about things. So thank you for that word of caution, Vin. Okay, are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Any new structures had to fit in with the ambiance. Do you know if that has been modified?
So I have to repeat your question so people can on Zoom, and you can let me know if I didn't get it right. You're talking about the amendment to the zoning ordinance referring to new buildings having to respect the character of the community. Yes, those regulations were in place. Short answer, I don't believe that they passed the bar with that, especially with the houses that are directly across Creek Road. And some of the architectural setting that they have in mind looks more like Disney World to me than it does look like Lancaster County. Dueling architects, Sam? Yeah.
Powers that be, that was 3 2 mile away. That's part of the past muscle. In other words, somebody's opinion subjectively that the houses were perfectly in character with the village.
Right. So Sam's speaking to the prior decision that was made and then overturned by the appeal, and it's now back with the commissioners. Unfortunately, some of the aspects are under consideration and some are not of the conditional use application. Are there any other questions about the historic significance of the Village of Oregon? Yes, sir.
When you compare the historic significance, could you consider adding the Amish community that surrounds the village? I think it's the oldest Amish community in North America in the world from the 1740s.
But is that significant to Oregon? The question was, should we include the Amish as the oldest Amish community in North America here? And
Oregon's in the center of it.
Oregon is definitely in the center of it, but the folks at Hans Her House would say, we've got you beat. So they would be wrong, could be.
The oldest settlement was in Berks County.
Okay.
The Constanta settlement was right in here in Manheim Township. Berks County failed, a few of their families moved down here, and this was might have been a Mennonite settlement.
Sure, sure.
The oldest Amish settlement.
I would be glad to receive any information you have to further explain that. And I would be glad to weave that in to the narrative. So thank you. Yes, sir. Yes, Stefan.
Try to make this as simple as possible. Is Oregon incorporated or unincorporated? And by adding all this on, does that change the boundaries in a sense?
Unincorporated is completely informal. the boundaries, the only boundaries that are official are in the zoning ordinance, the T5 overlay. And I think that that falls far short of what the actual area of Oregon should be. But that would require a zoning ordinance amendment, which I think is a few years down the road for us to address. But thank you. Pam?
I have been informed that this is the village of Oregon is a place on the National Historic Register. At this point in time, it would be very, very difficult. Although there are other places in Lancaster County, for instance, Brooks Mill, which is down in Little Township, is the whole village is on the National Register of Historic Places.
So I think you're talking about national historic districts
Yes.
that are different than just structures.
Right.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. It is far more difficult to establish a district than just inclusion of a structure on the list.
Right. And if we were to work hard enough and contribute enough funding to try to change this and make Oregon a historic district, would that have any influence upon what happens with the development, of Oregon Village?
Not likely. Just straight up, it's not likely. Because in Lancaster Township, where I'm the township engineer, we have a national historic district called Northeast Lancaster Township Historic District. Of course, it's in the northwestern part of Lancaster Township, but who cares? But it's all of Schooling Hills, you know, the big area of Schooling Hills. And it's all carrot and no stick. So you can go through the process of getting it, you know, registered as a national historic area, but it's pride, but it doesn't change anything. We've got to change it with the zoning ordinance. We've got to change it with the township administration of the zoning ordinance. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to ask. So we're gonna end the recording, and then I'm gonna ask the board of directors to come up. So if y'all have a mind to be out there in that posture of defiance photo, we'll be out there just as quickly as we can. We have to elect or re-elect our vice president and treasurer. We have to approve some meeting minutes and treasurer's reports, and then we will be out there as fast as we can. So board of directors, please come forward. And thanks everybody for showing up. No, we need to stop recording. Thank you. Stop share.
Not having a mouse is problematic, but we've made it work.